Welcome to Random Conflux. Today's topic is I don't even know at this point. Tell them, Jay.
We're talking about emulation, official versus unofficial, as well as a few other things that we didn't cover in the last emulation topics.
And by the way, to start off, my name is Zach McCormick.
And I'm John. And this is our umpteenth thousandth time trying to record this because the software keeps messing up.
Yes, I blame Audacity. And speaking of which, you'll hear my puppy in the background whining because he did something wrong and he needed to be corrected. So that's fun.
No harm came to him. He's just in timeout.
I mean, there should have been a little bit more punishment in it, other than me smacking the floor. But, don't you growl. Don't you growl when I say smacking the floor. Well, anyways, off of that topic, let's get into something a little bit more enjoyable. Thank you very much. Emulators. Pros, cons, whatever, legality, non-legality. Speak your mind.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to emulate, both officially and unofficially. Like we're talking official emulation. The
I'm actually gonna keep that in.
Yeah, that's the Nintendo memberships plus the expansion pack for it. You can play Super Nintendo, N64, and they just announced Game Boy. They just released Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games.
But should we talk what emulators mean in a general sense, a definition? Term?
Emulators are basically playing the old games on newer hardware that they were necessarily made for.
Yeah,
like Nintendo is an official one.
An emulator, in a sense, whole purpose is to emulate other software.
Yeah.
And the sole point and definition to simulate or emulate is to copy or kind of I don't have it right in front of me, so it's off the top of my head. It's to replace as good or as better than the original.
Now, no emulator is going to give you a one-to-one experience. They'll have their hiccups and stuff.
Yeah.
Even some of my favorite ones, like the PS2 emulator, which is PCSX2. It's very good, but even it's not 100%. There's a couple of games that don't run as well on it. But the games that do run tend to run better than they did on the PS2.
Yeah, and at the time, the PS2 was shit. Especially if you had the Slim. It constantly was tracking off.
I had a better experience with the Slim than I did the regular. The regular I had to take apart and readjust the laser all the time.
My Slim kept bumping the track up.
Mm.
I had to keep pushing the disc back down.
Oh. Now the one I gave you still works, though.
Mm-hmm.
The silver one.
But my original silver one, it would always pop the disc up.
Oh.
The disc would somehow keep getting knocked off of the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the whole point of it. Like, if those discs were meant for like an actual drive at that point.
Yeah.
Not to be loaded in from the top.
Yeah. Now, that said, when you use an emulator, you're supposed to dump the ROMs yourself, and there's ways to do it. There's actual instructions.
Yeah. And that's the legality of the
that's the legal way to do it. Yeah.
Emulators. And when you're talking about emulation, you also have to talk about the illegal portions of it as well. Because there are emulators out there that are illegal and that you have to pay for. But they don't get the permission from the original content owners.
For instance, the 101 Wish.com systems, those are very legally gray.
I like that. Legally gray. They're legal, but yet they're unlegal.
Illegally made.
Yeah.
Illegal is not a word.
Cookie, you are on timeout. Go. Timeout. Lay down. No? Why? We are recording over here. Just...
Doggy is trying to apologize for earlier.
I get it. I'm not mad at you anymore. Grab the cat's ass. Just go over there. Just scooch. Yeah. Or not scooch.
For those of you who wondered, we went out to get some drinks, sodas, pops, whatever you want to call them. And we came back
in different places.
Yeah, we were gone maybe 5 minutes, and he had ramsacked the entire office.
Yes. Knocked my pop down on the floor, knocked a lot of stuff that were important off my desk.
Yeah, so...
I think he wanted to communicate in a way to you guys that, oh, I'm a smart puppy. I'm all wrinkle brain. I can talk like a person. And in reality, he's the most smooth brain little poochie you could ever have. I mean, he...
Right now he's trying to type on the keyboard that's accidentally
He messes up with simple commands like sit, stay, and lay down. If you say lay down, he just looks at you like, eh. You know how those old PCs would make that sound? Like, eh. Like, what the fuck? Just do what you're commanded to do.
Yeah.
But, like, I could say lay down again, and then he'll kind of sit, or he'll do a few little circles and just look at me. And,
you literally have to do it 3 times, and he'll do it after the 3rd time. It's weird.
Yeah, so it's like you gotta give him the same command 3 times in a row for him to do it. So, if you guys are dog whisperers, or anything of that such, tell me, do I have a demon dog? Because he will literally do, like, 3 circles, like, he'll do 6 circles 3 freaking times. I don't know what that is.
Isn't it 3 one way, the 3 the other way?
No, it's like 6 one way, 6 another way, and then he'll go back and do another 6. It's like, oh my god, I have a demon for a dog.
Anyways, back to our topic.
Oh, yes. Emulators. Can I get an emulator for my dog?
That doesn't work.
Damn it.
Unless you got like a little Game Boy on the collar or something.
Oh, now he's being so cute.
Now, if
it's making me lose my topic here.
But back to the conversation. Back to the conversation though. Like with unofficial emulators, like the PS2 emulator for PC, PCSX2. There's ways to get that working on Xbox, and the Xbox with that emulator is more backwards compatible with PS2 games than the PS5 is.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of your true emulators that come from the actual source, like Nintendo's emulators for the Game Boy games and the Nintendo 64 games, like that wasn't done with the Wii system.
No, it was done on an emulator itself.
Most of the Wii system was upgraded to the Switch system. But that was a whole new system that they upgraded to. So when they're saying emulators, they are using their old software. And a whole... Software. No, they're actually using their own code that were made for those systems, but they're upgrading that code so it works on a newer system, which that's exactly what an emulator is in a sense, but they own that IP.
Yeah. Now there were some problems with the official N64 emulation on the Switch, but they fixed that since then. It runs a lot smoother now.
Yeah, but that was the whole point. Yeah. And you take consideration of third-party emulators like Retro Trio.
Retro Marking Man.
Well, I'm talking about the system.
Yeah, it's a clone console. It's not really an emulator, but it kind of emulates that experience at the same time.
But it is an emulator. Yeah. By definition, it is an emulator. Yeah. And therefore, technically, they had to get permission from Nintendo and Sega to be able to recreate those consoles in a new package.
They actually have a deal going on with Sega right now. They're reproducing original Sega Genesis controllers.
I'm not 100% sure if this information that I'm going to be saying is correct. Mm-hmm. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing this, please look it up before you even think that this is like the Holy Bible or something like that. Because this is off the top of my head, things can change. I haven't looked at the source since. But the people that made Retro Trio, and I think it's that same company.
The people that make Retro Trio are Retro Bit.
The original guy used to work for Sega. The CEO, he used to work for Sega as a console designer and programmer. So he does technically have an agreement with Sega. As far as I know, he left on good terms because he wanted to keep making consoles. But because he worked with Sega, not many other places would hire him to work on their consoles. So he started working on retro consoles.
That said, Retrobit actually makes some really good stuff for emulation and for official hardware. Like, for instance, like I said, the deal with Sega that they make controllers that work in your original Sega Genesis, and they look and feel like the originals. And they also make ones that are digital for like PC, Switch, and things like that.
Yeah, because the guy's son has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I was talking about that redoes old consoles if you give it to him.
Yeah.
Or he goes out and he actually buys like an old console, or he finds them in the dumpster and fixes them up.
Yeah.
And he either fixes them up for himself so he could play old games that he owns, or he fixes them up for other people, but he only charges for like the time spent doing it, but he doesn't charge you to get your console back. You can have it back, but he does take like commissions. He doesn't say, hey, you have to pay me or I'm holding your console for ransom. It's just, hey, if you think I did a good job, please, give me what you think it's worth.
And there's all kinds of controllers and stuff to experience to give you a feel for like the original system on an emulator. Like Retrobit does it. They also make stuff for the official systems too. Like they do Sega, they do Super Nintendo, they do all kinds of stuff. And then another one that I use myself is the.
Isn't Retrobit the same people that make Retro Trio?
I believe so. That's why I was talking about it. If not, please correct me in the comments. Another official one that's nice is the Retro Fighter. Well, not official, but the Retro Fighters controllers.
Yeah.
I have the Brawler 64 controller. One I had broke itself on a firmware update. I'm not sure why, but it's that was my problem I had with it, and I could probably get that fixed. I just haven't. But the second one I bought was the.
Hold on, we're suffering a little bit of technical difficulties. There we go. We're back.
Yeah, our recording software's acting up a little bit. I don't know whether it's Audacity or the laptop. But
it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah. But back to what we're talking about. Retro Fighters, the Brawler 64 controller. I bought the completely wireless one that didn't have the dongle.
Yeah.
And it works amazing for Switch and PC for emulating that feel for games.
But other emulators, like what Nintendo's doing, that's owned by that company.
Yeah.
Third-party emulators aren't necessarily supposed to force you to pay for their emulators.
So they usually go through donations and things like that.
Yes. There are companies out there that do charge an arm and a leg for retro-type game consoles that are remade, but they don't own the patents for it. And those type of emulators are illegal.
Well, there's some where the patent's expired, and they can get away with it that way. But that's, like I said, it also depends on the system and all that. But that said, there's some that it costs a lot that are legit, and there's some that are complete crap. It depends on, do your research.
Yes. Be prepared to do some research. With just games in general, to me, it's about playing games that you own.
Yeah.
Because technically you bought that game.
Yeah. If you own a game, you should be able to play it however you want.
Yeah. Even if you may not have it for a particular console that you may want to be able to play that game on, as long as you own a hard copy, play it on whatever console version you like the most. If you're better playing on a PC, but there's only like a console version of that game, but you don't want to hook up a video card just to do a let's play for it, go ahead, do a simulator or an emulator for that console and just play it on PC.
Yeah. That's my Sims Let's Play. It's a PC game, and I can get it to run on Windows 10. Let's get that clear. But it's easier for recording to do it in a virtual machine, which is kind of an emulator.
Yeah, and that's a sense of what type of emulators are out there.
Now, VM is different from emulator, and if you want to get into that, look it up because I can't go into details, but there are a lot of differences.
Well, a virtual machine is exactly what it says. It's basically a virtual version of old software.
Yeah.
Redone to perform on a better system.
Yeah.
Which in emulator, it doesn't need that type of software.
Yeah.
Where if you want to play a legit game that was made for, let's say, Windows 98 or Windows 10 or Windows XP, but you no longer have that software built into your computer.
Some stuff will work, but the stuff that don't, sometimes you need
what's called a retro engine.
Yeah, like PCEM is one. There's also different virtual machines. Now with virtual machines, some games will run in them and some won't. But with the emulator, if it's they emulate the specs of the old hardware, so if you can get a system, so it's more likely to get the games to run.
Yeah,
and a chance with both.
It's just a different name, but it sort of has the same purpose.
Yeah.
It's meant to be able to do things on a system that necessarily that thing you're trying to do wasn't meant for.
Yeah. Another very good emulator. Sorry I got on the topic of different ones, but another good one for PC emulation for older games.
By the way, before any of these names are said, we are not sponsored, nor do we accept donations from these or say that we own product from them. We're just saying from our own personal opinion, this is what we believe.
Yeah.
And these are the names coming up.
Yeah, but like I said, I already mentioned PCEM, which is it's technically not a virtual machine; it's a PC emulator. Which, like I said, they're different, but they're the same.
It's a retro thing.
Another one that's very good is DOSBox for DOS games, and that's actually really nice because a lot of DOS games, you just drag the exe file into DOSBox and bam, it plays.
Yes, I remember playing an old Commodore 64. Having to type out the passcodes just to play the little floppy disks.
And you use a Commodore emulator, and you can load it up, and bam, you're playing it.
Yes. It took so long to get a freaking game to start in a Commodore 64.
Yeah, I remember typing it out. It was like load, I think it was asterisk star asterisk or something like that, and then the name of the game.
Yes, it's like, what's that? Bloody crap, I just want to play the game.
One of my favorite games on Commodore. I think I had a few of them, but I remember. You ever played Blueprint? Where you had to get all the parts to build the robot before the guy.
I think so. Mostly because the Commodore that I had was given to me by the school.
Yeah.
It had, like, the games that they owned.
Yeah.
So it was more along the lines of, hey, these are games that you play in school and nothing more. So it was more math games. It was like writing games. It was games that you would play in a classroom, more or less. But they were fun. They kept me entertained, and I love learning new things. So if there was a game there that was meant for a different grade than I was in, yeah, I would play it. And there were games in there that were for like high school to college type games. And like this one math game I had, it had algebra, geometry, and some other things built into it. And it was meant for like 7th grade and up. And I, at the time, was in the 3rd grade when I was playing these type of games. So that just shows like how much I wanted to learn and progress in my own education. And just having a way to do that was an emulation for me.
Yeah. Now, I did experience one problem with the Commodore 64 emulator. The Xbox controller is no substitute for the original joystick. It works.
But you
But
also notice that I took something that's not necessarily game related and turned it into an emulator.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, the same thing, like it is the same thing in a way. You're taking one product to enhance it to another product.
Yeah.
And in a way, my 4th grade education, other than taking my regular 4th grade classes,
you learned a lot off that computer.
I just learned more off of the computer than what they were teaching me in my classes. Because I used a computer in video games as a way to be an emulator to my education.
I can see it that way. But that said, if you ever get the chance to play over an original Commodore 64, it is a fun experience if you like retro games. It's graphics-wise, it's better than Atari, maybe on par with the regular Nintendo.
But
there's a lot of games. There's literally hundreds of games for the Commodore.
Yes, and
there's still games being made for Commodore. People make them for fun.
It was actually sad when they took the Commodores out of the school because there were so many games that were really good for it. And you didn't have to own an IP just to get to play a certain game from it. And I think that was something that was really cool because it gave kids like me that were going to school an option of something that when they were getting rid of it, that like we could expand more of our education from something we owned.
Yeah.
And that to me was something that was like, you know, I wasn't.
You got yours from school. Mine came from a family member. We got the Commodore 64. I got the disc tray. And I got a bunch of games, like a bunch of cartridges and a bunch of discs. And and a printer that didn't work.
Oh, my printer worked.
Oh, mine didn't. Like the test would work, but you couldn't actually print off anything.
Yeah, I could print nowadays it's called Notepad. It's the free program on your computer, and
back then you just typed it out and.
That's basically what Notepad started off as.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to type something and print it off on a Commodore 64, you had to open a file called Notepad. And I forget the code to do it right now, but it just opened a blank space where you could type, like, say you wanted to fill out a letter or you wanted to do a form and you knew how to do it, you could print that off and it would be perfect.
Now the another thing with those printers too is they were on that spittle paper, so you had to wrap that up into it.
Yeah. But we're kind of getting off topic when it comes down to emulators.
Yeah.
But
if you want a good Commodore emulator, it's actually in the RetroArch emulator, which RetroArch is interesting because it's not a single emulator; it's a bunch of emulators in one.
Yeah.
You download the cores, but one of the cores in there, and there's a standalone one too, is Vice, and it's a very good Commodore emulator for emulating old games.
Another reason why people make it an emulator is so that they could play retro type games on a different console. Like, it's easier to do Let's Play on a PC because you don't need a capture card to do so. You could just use OBS or other software sort of like OBS that allow you to screen capture and stuff like that for free. And as long as you're using it for the right purposes and you're following certain community guidelines, like with YouTube or let's say Twitch or
it's easier to run an emulator. Like, for instance, on portable systems like the DS and 3DS, you know how hard it is to get a capture for that?
I can imagine.
It's very difficult. So it's easier to run an emulator to capture 3DS games or DS games.
And the fact that our Dragon Ball Z content is done on an emulator.
Yeah. We could do the capture card, but it's
a pain in the butt.
That, and I don't have a working PS2 controller right now.
Matter of fact, the Star Wars video...
That was done on a capture card.
Yeah. I was saying just that the Star Wars video we did was on a capture card. And it lagged so bad when I was freaking trying to upload it. It was bad. Like, at first, like, crap, what was it? I couldn't use Filmora because the subscription that I had didn't upgrade to the next version, which I have to pay like $30 to re-get the subscription.
Well, speaking of that, his Filmora expired, and even though he bought a lifetime license, by the way, it expired.
Well, it expired only because I upgraded to Filmora 12, and I had the subscription for Filmora 11, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be smart. I got a lifetime guarantee, so this will upscale with me. I was so wrong.
And for a while, we were using Shotcut in place of it. That's got its own problems. I found this program called...
Well, hold on. Let me just tell you the problem I had with Shotcut. Thank you very much. Shotcut. Slow. Shotcut. Hard to manage. Hard to get a concept around. And when you're trying to do copy and paste, you're kind of screwed.
Now, we have different feelings about Shotcut, just so you know. I think it's okay.
I think it's a pile of crap.
But that said, I found this new program. I was just looking at random YouTube videos that were recommended to me. And it's the new program is called DaVinci Resolve. And no, we're not sponsored by them. But if you're doing any video editing, they have a free one and a paid one. And the free one is better than Filmora.
Yes. I've used it recently, and matter of fact, I've used it in our last topic video, and I'm pretty sure you used it on one of the Tony Hawk videos.
Not Tony Hawk. I haven't played Tony Hawk on your channel yet. I used it to...
Sims.
Yeah. Yeah, that video isn't uploaded yet. It will be, but...
Okay. I'm jumping time here.
Yeah, that video will be uploaded in the future. But I cut it together using DaVinci just to play with it a little bit, and it's a really good program.
To me, it's almost the same equivalent of Filmora when it comes down to the basics of it and how it runs and how things work on it. But it's a pro software that you're basically getting for free, and it's really good at what it does. And I can do a lot more really quickly instead of having to go very slow. And what took me many hours in Shotcut to do only took me maybe a couple hours, if maybe not even like a couple minutes in DaVinci.
Yeah, and DaVinci, like I said, I have no problems with either. And I was looking at reviews on it, and people were comparing it to Adobe Premiere, which is one of the high-end programs out there.
Yes, but you're paying for it.
Yeah, and this is comparable for free.
Yes, and I'm not saying that all things should be free, but...
It's just very good.
When you see something free out there like that, they can give your software a run for its money, and you're forcing people to pay for premium shit.
Yeah.
And this software is giving them the same thing, and they're not even have to pay for it. Like,
it does offer a paid version. There's a free version, and the paid version is $300, and the paid version lets you upscale up to 8K, and it lets you do 3D rendering and a bunch of other stuff. But the free version, you can upscale up to 4K, which most people don't have anything better than 4K anyway. Zach's poor computer can't even handle 4K.
It can barely handle what we're doing right now.
So we had to record this 2,000 times.
But, hey, guys, at DaVinci, you like this topic? You like us talking about your little software? Dude, give me an email. I would love to be sponsored by you guys. I'm not getting any money from this whatsoever, so that you listeners are understanding this. DaVinci is not paying me. They are not paying me to say something good about the product.
It's just our own experience. We love the program.
Yes, it is our own experience. We are using that program to give you nice, ladies and gentlemen, content. And to me, like, every word that I'm saying about them is exactly my own feelings and right off the top of my head. Like, I am not paid whatsoever by DaVinci or their owners. Just let's put that into consideration. And the fact, hey, guys, please, just send some little bit of money my way, and I'll keep talking some really good stuff about your product.
You're going to talk about it anyway. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
No,
I'm just saying, like, I would love to have, like, DaVinci sponsor us. And I would 100%, if I had the money for it, I would get the actual paid version.
Once we get the money, we're probably going to buy the paid version. It's that good of a program.
Yeah, and in the short time that I've used DaVinci, and to be honest, it hasn't really been all that long. I've used it for maybe this month. And most of the things I've edited this month have been as of really good quality, except for what I've used in Shotcut. And then, which, just to break the fourth wall here for a second, the school topic was done on Shotcut. And it took me over 8 hours to complete. just because I had to copy and paste the pictures, and Shotcut didn't want to really work for me, and like I had to keep letting it reload and stuff like that, and to me, like it was a horrible experience. Like Shotcut sucks, but that's my own personal opinion. Like none of you have to feel that way. That's just me.
Like I don't think it's a bad program, but DaVinci was so much better.
But once I started working with DaVinci, and let me rephrase this again, they are not paying me. I do not directly work for them. I'm just saying when I was using their program, it was almost like I was using Filmora. Everything I learned in Filmora came back to me in DaVinci. And it was like so much easier and so much faster. And what took me 8 hours to do could take me only like a couple minutes in DaVinci to do.
Oh, heck, my experience from Flash, back when I used to do a lot of animation, it synced with that, too. It's like just if you have basic editing knowledge of videos.
Yeah, and my level of education when it comes down to editing audio or visual, it's more along the lines I learned from WavePad and VideoPad.
Mm.
And that's what I had beforehand. And then, like, I didn't have the money to keep repaying subscription after subscription. And the lifetime subscription, I didn't have the money for.
I actually helped you with that, I think, didn't
No, you helped me with Filmora.
Okay, Filmora, I mean, yeah.
And once I stopped being able to pay for the use of VideoPad and WavePad, I stopped being able to use those products to bring out content or to burn CDs or make music. And by the way, I do have a little bit of experience doing music and musical editing. I also have a little bit of experience doing voice work for cartoons and animes.
They're going to change the name of this topic to just random stuff because we started emulators and now we're doing talking about more, but still.
But this also goes into that category of being emulators, because if you think about it, a software like Filmora or WavePad, VideoPad, or DaVinci, they are emulators to an extent.
They're editors. They have nothing to do with emulation. You're editing the program.
Hold on a second.
We still suck.
Yes, they're editors, but they're an emulation of a product.
How are they emulating your product?
Okay.
I'm
going to have to get into some details.
I'm trying to get in your brain here.
My brain's a scary place. You don't want to just go in there without a guide. So let's just help you out there. The reason why I say they're emulators is the fact that, okay, in a mainstream to do editing, you're using what's called an editing board.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's a hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And the editing board is got like a bunch of digits, knobs, dials, whatever you want to call it, that helps scale what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. If it's video or audio programming, you're using what's called an editor board. And
I see what you're saying. Now a lot of the video programs copy that on digitally.
Yes, yeah. And therefore that's an emulator.
I can see where you're coming from with that. I mean, some people
takes what's born as hardware
and made it software.
And made it into software, which therefore is an emulator. So therefore, I'm still on topic, but it didn't come out that way because you're thinking, oh, okay, well, this is completely different. It's editing tools.
Yeah.
But what we're doing on a computer right now with software,
it's emulating what people used to do with the knobs and all the buttons.
Yes, and that was hardware.
Yeah.
And the definition of an emulator is to make something that was originally hardware
Yeah.
into something that could be software.
I see that. Now, the thing with DaVinci too is I looked it up. It's actually used by a lot of professional companies too.
Yeah.
Especially not if not the video editing part, the picture quality part, because Filmora has the best colorization out of almost every other.
But if you think about it, if you actually had the hardware for editing programs, like, it would take up this whole room.
Yeah.
It really would. You would have to dedicate each monitor for a different thing.
Yeah.
And in this case, you're using like thousands or maybe millions of dollars in equipment. And backup. And you're limited on the space that you have around you.
If you're wondering who he told to back up, the dog was getting close to the space heater, and we don't want him getting himself hurt.
I let it's getting hot. Yeah. I think it's dry by now.
Yeah, the doggy got the keyboard wet earlier, so we were letting it dry, and he started getting too close to the heater, and we do not want doggy to get hurt, so we were telling him to back up from it, right?
Yeah. Come here, babe. Make your little hip a little hot, buddy. But getting back on the topic, if I just went out and said, hey, this software is born from hardware, yes, it's emulation, it would have came out a whole lot different than just going into it saying we are talking about the same thing without going into detail.
I can see where you're going from. I mean, I don't know if other people see it that way, but I can see where you're coming from. Like 20, 30 years ago, they didn't have the ability to do it all on computer. It was all done like by hand and adding stuff. Like, for instance, the original Tron. You know how the suits light up and stuff?
Yeah.
That was colored.
No, that was actually a battery pack.
Some of it was. Other stuff was literally drawn in there.
The original Tron, if I'm not mistaken, which came out in 1990.
Came out in the late 80s.
Okay, late 80s. I would say 88, 89, somewhere around there.
I think.
That was before I was born. I was born in 89.
Yeah, some of it was battery packs. Some of it was literally hand-drawn in there.
But the one that was made in 1995 was actually done by battery pack.
Yeah.
They had LED strips. And this was something I was going to talk to you about in a show that I've actually done that I actually have pictures for on my computer that prove that I also did this. I just didn't get the credit for it. But I remember the scene, and it's where I have to have like these glowing tattoos. And they were done by using what's called LSD tape. LED tape. So, yes, LSD tape. LED tape. And they cut certain portions of it to make different designs. And they did the same thing with the Tron clothing.
Yeah. Now,
which I actually knew because the director that was on the set of Otzi was also the guy that worked on Tron. He did the design for the Tron suits.
Okay. Now, as along that same vein, the there's a YouTube channel. I think they were Quarter Crew. They recreated the entire bike scene in Tron with Blender, just to see like how stuff compared. It was so much easier to make with modern technology, but like I said, they didn't have that back then, so they had to do all kinds of things.
Oh no, like CGI nowadays, it far surpasses what CGI was back in the 90s.
90s, 80s, and 90s.
Well, it wasn't even a thing in the 80s.
Yeah, in the 90s, they were learning all that stuff on the fly. Like, for instance, the movie The Mask, they came up with a lot of that. They invented a lot of what they did. Or even Terminator 2, that was invented on the fly to figure that crap out. You know what I mean?
I believe Jim Carrey said that the hardest thing he's ever done was had to wear a green mask.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is the actual mask that he was wearing.
It was a full face mask, and the teeth were fake teeth, and he learned to talk with them. Like, it was originally just for stills, but
where it was animated, where it was
all the animated parts, yeah.
He was actually wearing what's called a green screen mask. And that's where it blocks part of your body because it's covered by the same color as the background. And they're able to implement a picture over that image.
Yeah.
And they don't have to scribble anything out. It just, there's software out there that's hard-coded into being able to do that type of stuff.
This has become a topic about emulators and then video editing somehow, but still interesting.
Well,
but yeah, I see what you're doing.
Editors nowadays are exactly what we're talking about when it comes down to emulators.
They're emulating what you used to have to do by hand, all that stuff.
Yes. Most people put emulators with games. Nowadays, it's so much more.
Yeah.
It's editing, it's producing, it's creating something that's completely new, but yet born on old techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Now, parkour, and this is really stretching the topic here, but parkour is an emulation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Parkour is a form of freestyle run, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it actually was born from something else. So therefore, it's an emulation.
I think more adaptation than emulation. But I can see how your brain's working with that. I can see how your brain's working, but
it's an adaptation as well as an emulation, but it falls under that same sort of category in what emulation really is. And it's not, and the reason why I brought that up is because it's not just hardware, software.
Dog eating cheese balls.
Anytime you're trying to imitate something and you actually make it something of your own, it's an emulation.
Or imitation.
Well, an imitation is a complete and total copy. An emulation is something that was first created by someone else that you make into your own thing.
Zach, your dog is stealing popcorn from me.
Yes. And you're giving them bad habits. Stop it. So, with that being said, think a little bit more about what you guys consider emulation over imitation, or just what do you think is better in the long run of being emulated? Do you think that only games should be emulated, or do you think emulation should stay with software or hardware when it comes down to like what emulation really is?
Yeah, because if you're going with software emulation, sometimes that's the only way to get old computer games to work, aside from finding an old Windows 98 computer and booting them up and praying to God that the thing runs.
Yeah, because it's a lot more than just that. It goes clear to copying someone else's style of doing something. And they say, well, that's imitation. If you're
trying to emulate the style to get that.
Yes, you're emulating that style. But they call it something else, like imitation or simulation. Which in certain cases, like, that's all good and all, but you're losing the fact that that's still emulation.
Yeah. Getting a little philosophical with this, but it's still interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of breaks the boundaries of just software limitation of what emulation is. It's a lot more than just software or hardware. It's a whole thing in the design that you're taking someone else's what they are, and you're incorporating that into yourself to better preserve it. Like, let's say you wanted to give Jackie Chan a type of memory, some like a legacy.
Like you want to pay tribute to him.
Yes. So you want to make a martial arts class based around his style, which, by the way, Jackie Chan's style is more along the lines of free running and like the type of martial arts that Bruce Lee did, which he even went as far as saying that much. But in the circumstance that he went and put two things that weren't even related into his own style of martial arts, and that's what's called evolution, not the style, just combining the two is and using it in one package that's evolving.
It's the evolution of the style.
Yes. And to pay tribute to that style, what you would be doing is emulation. You're taking a style that's already there and just holding it for...
you're emulating his ability, what he does.
You're preserving.
Yeah.
In a way. And that's what emulators are. It's a preserving tool.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, software, hardware, all that is emulation. But it's so much more. It's being able to replicate something. And that's the whole thing, that word replicate. It's a word that's the same thing as...
Emulate. I see what you're saying with that.
Okay. So... human-wise, it's replication. But in software or hardware talk, it's emulation.
Okay, I can see that. Makes sense.
So, therefore, certain things can be deterred as an emulation, not just games or software or hardware or editing tools in this sense.
If you want to get more into this, please leave comments. Keep them friendly. And we're not experts, but this is just us getting philosophical and stuff.
And yes, but once my brain gets on a topic, it's hard to like switch off because it's one of those things where
you have to get that thought out.
Yes, you gotta get the thought out, and then that thought goes into another thought, that goes into another thought, and it ramshackles into a complete train wreck, which is at most this video topic that we're talking about. And that, well...
We just wrap it up there. We're on an hour.
Yes, we're going on an hour. Well, let's just say, heck with it. We talked as much as we could about this topic for the time being. So if you like what your ears are hearing and you want to add a little bit more to this conversation, please hit that like button, leave a comment down below if you feel so obliged to do. And if you don't like it, there's a thumbs down button. It's right by the like button. You see it, you look straight at your screen, you can see it right there, right in front of you, right below this little video box that you're probably looking at. So, go ahead, hit that dislike button. Nobody sees it but us, but that also tells us, hey, we're doing something wrong. We need to find out what to do better. So, therefore, leave us a comment down below. Even say in the comment, hey, I disliked your video, but tell us why. And without further ado, if you're a returning viewer, please, by God's sake, hit that subscribe button. It tends to move around on the screen, so at the moment, I don't know where it's at. Right now, it's right by the our channel name. So if you hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell icon, let us know that you like what we do, and by hitting that subscribe button, it tells us that you love our products, or not products, our videos, what do you say, products?
Oh, we're being consumed, so kind of, but
This stuff that we give to you, this thing we're feeding to your ear holes.
Our rambles about nothing.
Our rambles about a topic that you probably don't even give two shits about. Hit that subscribe button. Let us know that you're interested in more, and possibly, hey, if you subscribe, go ahead, leave a comment down below. Matter of fact, I do read every single comment that comes in. And if it's a topic comment, or maybe even a video game comment, I do read it. It gets put into an idea, and we do it. So, let us know why you subscribed. Let us know why you liked, why you disliked. And if you want to, go ahead, share it with your friends, whoever, whatever. If you know someone that this topic or any topic on this channel can help, then, go ahead. Give the person a link to this channel. Especially if it's a topic like school or art or whatever, because we've done videos on those. Go ahead. Give them a link to this channel, or there's a spot on the video where it says share. If you press that, it gives you a way to download the video, and you can share it through platforms. And let's say someone doesn't necessarily watch YouTube, you can give this video to someone that's on Facebook and let them view it. And maybe they like the content. Maybe they'll be a new viewer or subscriber. And we can't reach everybody on our own. We're just a group of people, talking about topics that are important to us and something that resonates with us, that we know enough about to be able to talk about. But we're not experts in this. We don't claim to be experts. We're
just recording for fun.
We're mostly recording for fun, but we're also trying to take what we know or what we're finding out and be able to give it to you guys.
Yeah.
And bless your ear holes with our nice old voices. And without further ado, I'm Zach McCormick.
And I'm John.
Say bye, Vegeta.
Bye, Vegeta. And have a nice day.
And blessings all around.